The type of decoration business you own and the equipment that you have will dictate the layout of your shop. But regardless of what equipment you have, you definitely want to take the time to make sure that your shop is set up to be as efficient as possible. And not only is it as efficient, but it's also going to be a good work atmosphere for you and your employees. First off, when it comes to organizing your space, realize that if you're in too small of an area where you're confined and your capacity is really limited, you're going to have all types of problems. You're going to make more mistakes and it's going to cost you more money. So it's better when you're looking for new space to get more than what you actually need. It's better to have extra space and not need it than to need space and not have it. Now, once you actually have your space, the layout itself will come down to many different things, but primarily the equipment that you have in the shop. Now, depending on what type of equipment you have, you're gonna have certain restrictions as what you need the atmosphere to be like. For example, digital printing equipment uses a water-based ink, needs a higher humidity so that the ink actually flows through the printer much better. Versus if you're gonna screen print, you often want a lower humidity. So the difference in humidity is really gonna dictate what type of space you're going to be printing in. You can't have direct-to-garment printing equipment right next to screen printing equipment and expect both of them to optimally be doing their job, because really both of them are fighting some type of variable in the air, which in this case is humidity. So again, it's very important that you strategically lay out the shop so that it's going to be as efficient as possible and that the equipment is going to perform as well as it can. Now, for instance, let's go to direct-to-garment printing. You're going to have a pre-treat machine, a heat press, and the printer. You really want to make sure that whatever the process is, that it all continuously flows and that an employee isn't just running around the room trying to get the job done. So, for instance, pre-treating is the first step. You pre-treat, then you heat press, then you print, then you cure. It's pretty much that simple. Well, it should be then the pre-treat machine, the heat press, the direct-to-garment printer, the heat press. By having that type of a layout, your employee is not going to be running around the room. It's going to save you not only time, but it's going to also help you as far as saving space. And when it comes to space, the big thing that every shop should definitely have a plethora of is table space. You will find that there is no such thing as enough table space. Just being able to put orders on a table and just be able to get them out of the way is very, very helpful. Sometimes when you're processing 100 different piece order with different colors and product types, you really need a lot of table space to get organized. When it comes to tables, folding tables are not a bad option because they can simply be folded up and then essentially set up, or they can be moved around. The more mobility, the better. You don't necessarily have to have them on wheels, but being able to quickly be able to fold it up or fold it out is very, very helpful. Which brings us to another good piece of tool to have in the equipment in the shop is essentially a rack. A rack on wheels is going to be very handy as far as storing inventory, shipping supplies, and anything else that the business has in the shop. The beautiful thing about wire racks is most of them actually can be adjusted as far as the height of the shelves. By being able to control the height of the shelves, you can dictate what exactly is going on them, and you really have a lot of freedom. And the beautiful thing is when they're on wheels, you can quickly wheel them in and out of the shop just so to really make your life really easy. It is extremely important that you have enough shelving and table space to keep your shop organized. Those are really the two big non-pieces of equipment that the shop really needs to invest in, and the more mobility they have, the better. Now, when it comes to the actual space of the shop, one thing that most shops are working in is typically some type of concrete floor environment. It is a good idea, if you're going to be working on straight concrete, that you look into some type of epoxy paint to put over. There's one part epoxy paint, which essentially is just a layer that'll be somewhat of a moisture barrier. It's a good way to help you control your humidity, and it's not as expensive as a two-part epoxy. Now, a two-part epoxy typically is going to have a gloss finish over it, and it's going to help seal the foundation a little bit more and might even help a little bit with the concrete coldness. That two-part epoxy, it's going to look a little bit better, but it's also going to cost a little bit more. And this is typically what you see on a showroom floor if you were going to go into buy a car. Now, another good idea as far as the floor is actually buying foam padding. Foam padding to be able to put on the floor will really help the feet of your workers. Now, there are all types of qualities and really prices as far as the pad goes. What we highly suggest is any high traffic or medium traffic volume room, go ahead and just pad the entire floor. Spend a couple $100s, it'll really make your employees a lot happier. Then anywhere where the employees are going to be constantly walking or standing in front of a heat press or something, invest in a quality mat for them to stand on. And these mats aren't cheap. Typically something around a 2x4 mat is going to run you around $50 to $100 depending on the foam thickness of the mat. Lastly, your walls. You really want to make sure that your walls aren't just bland and boring, and it's actually a fun work environment for your employees. Having a nice banner on the wall or just the right color schemes will really do wonders for your employees. If it's just bland white and it's boring and you just have blank cement floors, it's just a harder work environment versus if you go with a fun color scheme that your employees are going to want and enjoy being around. It's amazing that the psychology of just the work environment itself will dictate how well your employees work. Lastly, the ceiling. The actual ceiling, if you're renting space in an industrial location, it often has open rafters. Open rafters, again, doesn't allow you to really control your humidity a whole lot. You need some type of drywall or finished ceiling. And not only does a ceiling that is finished help, the lower it is, the easier it is to control your actual heating and cooling cost. Anything above 10 feet, 10, 12 feet is going to be a lot harder to control the AC or furnace temperature, and it can really get expensive, especially when you have equipment that throws off either heat or any other type of exhaust. If you have any questions on how to lay out your shop, please do not hesitate contacting us. Thank you.